Hello, welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. What's happening, everybody? Hope you guys are doing great today. I know my day's going good, man. It's going great. It's a good day to be out, man. I'm out here today, downtown San Antonio. I'm figured I'd come out here, take in the weather. You know what I mean? I went to a meeting downtown, and afterwards I figured, you know what? I'm gonna come out here to this little plaza area and do my video, you know what I mean? Do the segment for today, and it's a great day to do it outside. You know what I mean? It's good weather. It's hot, that's for sure. But hey, man, you know what? Probably the best thing about that is that today's another day clean. Today's another day sober. Today's another great day in recovery, spirituality, man. Today's another great day to be alive. Yes, it is. So check this out. If you would, please join me in a moment of silence, followed by a serenity prayer for the addict who still suffers, and for those of us who are still bound down to that struggle of those toxic things that keep us, chained down to the things that we do, through our daily lives and that sort of thing. So if you would, please join me in a moment of silence. God, grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, wisdom to know the difference. All right. Okay, well, now that we got that out of the way, yeah, man, so I'm out here, dude. It's hot. But it's good, man. It's good to get out and, to go out and interact. You know what I mean? That's one of the things that, check this out. I'm just going to, what we'll do today is I'm just going to go off of what we talked about in today's meeting, and in today's topic of the meeting was part of the daily meditation, which talked about patience, and so that's what I want to elaborate on a little bit today is exactly that, patience. And I know that personally myself, gosh, I've always considered myself a pretty patient person, you know what I mean? I've been usually pretty calm about a lot of things, but you know what? In the world of the addiction, in the world when I was in that realm of darkness, man, was patience wasn't something that I might have looked like I was patient from the outside, but in the inside, man, was I struggling. Man, was I struggling. And one of the things that I was struggling with was just the emotional roller coaster, I guess. You know what I mean? The patience, the not having patience to deal with that emotional roller coaster. You know what I mean? To not having the patience to deal with the problems, the adversities that I was going through. You know what I mean? And one of the ways that I decided to deal with that and substitute that patience with clouding up things, you know what I mean? And that was the use, you know what I mean? That was the addiction. And I understood at an early age that this thing, and when I say thing, I'm talking about these over here, this is drugs. This over here, this is alcohol. When I understood, I understood at an early age that putting these two things into my body didn't allow me to feel the feelings of anxiety, the feelings of depression, the feelings of sadness, the feelings of anger. It was something that that I learned at an early age that stuff masks those feelings. You know what I mean? And I was, gosh, probably, I want to say in the first grade when that happened. You know what I mean? That was the first time that I had put those types of things inside of my body. You know what I mean? That was the very first time I did that, and it was terrible, the things that I was going through at that particular point in time in my life. But I, I, I don't know why I was put this stuff was put in front of me and I ingested it or whatever, and I knew that it helped me. You know what I mean? It helped me at that particular point in time in my life, and I didn't know um, that it would affect me the way it did. You know what I mean? And anyway, going fast forwarding up till now, you know what I mean? In as an adult, in that, when I was in that world of darkness, in the world of, when I mean darkness, I mean in the world of addiction, the world of negativity, the world of non-spirituality. You know what I mean? And it's basically living a life of the way I saw fit. You know what I mean? I figured, well, this is the way I'm going to do it, and nobody's going to tell me how, and I don't need any guidance. And God, was I wrong? You know, was I just further from the truth? You know, in that, you know, aspect, and you know, when I decided that I was going to get this chance to live a life without the use, without any of those negative things, any of the dark realm, when I knew that my life was changing, when I didn't know how I was going to deal with that. I didn't know how, or if I had the patience to deal with that. You know what I mean? Because I was used to every single day having something to assist me through the day. You know what I mean? And and what was even worse for me was that the fact that I liked it. You know what I mean? It wasn't something that I was just doing and it was just killing me to do it or whatever. No, it was something that I enjoyed doing. You know what I mean? It got to that point, but at the same time, it got to a point where I had no control. You know what I mean? There was things that I couldn't, well, there was nothing that I could do unless that happened first. That had to be the first thing that I did so that my day could go forward, to for me to do anything. You know what I mean? For me to you know, get out of bed, for me to, you know, go make me something to eat, whatever it was. You know what I mean? It didn't matter what it was. I didn't do anything, and my mental capacity was just that. You can't do crap until this happens. And that's the way it was. And if it didn't happen, my patience was just not good. You know what I mean? I was either pissed off, I was, you know, trying to, you know, do things to get what I needed if I didn't have it. And, you know, it was just this whole world of, this whole snowball effect of chaotic actions. And, you know, and that was one of the hardest things to do, to figure out that, gosh, man, you're going to have, you know, this patient has to come back, because I knew that I had the capacity to do it. I just didn't want to go, I guess, through that whole rigorous thing, mentally, emotionally, physically, all of that stuff. And but nonetheless, I learned, you know what I mean? And when I say I learned, I mean that I needed to do, and I started to do things that were spiritual, things that were of good feelings of love, and do those things on a repetitive basis. Do those things every single day. If that meant me reading 2 books of some spiritual connection, you know what I mean, then that's what I did. You know what I mean? I got a stack of books that I've read since I've been on this journey, and I like it. You know what I mean? I like it. Check this out. I got one sitting right in front of me. You know what I mean? This is one of the newest books I'm reading right now, and this was based on the Secret Gospel of Thomas. You know what I mean? And it's got a lot of good information in there. And when I read things like this, it allows me to to connect the dots. You know what I mean? It allows me to connect the dots with things that I've studied throughout my life, whether they're of of practicing, the Christian way, practicing the Catholic way, practicing the Buddhist way, practicing the Judea, Islam, whatever religion is out there, whatever spiritual practices are out there, I'm indulging. Because I don't believe that there's any one that's better than the other. You know what I mean? I honestly don't, because I believe that every single one of them is of good concept. You know what I mean? They believe that they're helping, that they show love. You know what I mean? And I believe that love is just is foundation for the way you live, man. And it's part of that energy of the of what I call the energy of the divinity. You know what I mean? The divine matrix, the power of the universe, the light. You know what I mean? And every religion believes that there's this one energy, right? And so the things that I do in my life today are based on that. You know what I mean? Based on practicing patience, because patience has got a lot to do with connecting to yourself mentally, physically, and in that energy mode of that divine power, that divine energy. You know what I mean? And so I find myself in my spiritual journey now with putting aside a lot of time to practice things, and practice things on a repetitive basis. You know what I mean? Like I said, I do a lot of reading. I watch different people's teachings on their podcasts and their videos and stuff like that, and people who are looking at life the way I'm looking at it, who believe in the things that I believe in, and that has been working for me. You know, that patience for me is allowing me to maneuver my journey, my spiritual journey, in a sense where I feel that I'm doing the right thing. You know what I mean? And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. You know what I mean? I don't think that there's anything wrong if you feel in your heart and your soul that you're aligned with those energies of that divine matrix, that if that's what's calling you to do this, or that's what's calling you to do that, then I don't see that there's anything wrong in that. You know what I mean? And but the thing I believe is doing this on a repetitive basis. Now, if I was doing this just one time, then I would, I would be like, to me it would be like, shut the F up, cut the video, you're not doing this. You know what I mean? Because what are you doing here telling somebody something that you've only done once? You know what I mean? So to me, it's not, if I'm not practicing it repetitively, if I'm not putting that into my own life every single day, then I'm not going to share it with you guys. You know what I mean? There's just no way. I'm not going to do that. So I believe that if you do stuff and you're faithful to it and you do it on a repetitive basis, that those are the things that you share. You know what I mean? That is just my belief. You know what I mean? I strongly believe that. I feel that what I'm doing today in my life is where I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to do, and how I'm supposed to do it. And if it needs to change, I feel that energy is going to tell me that, okay, you got to do this now. But for right now, your frequencies, your energies is supposed to be doing exactly what you're doing. You know what I mean? Because I believe that we're all connected in one way or another, and that I believe that my stories, my experiences, the teachings, the things that I study are going to be helpful for somebody else, and somebody else needs to hear it. I believe that that's how they're supposed to hear it if they're hearing a message from me. You know what I mean? It's not a coincidence that you're hearing it. It's part of tuning. You know, you like those radio dials, tuning in to your frequency, and when you tap into it, if you happen to line up with mine and that little red light turns on, you know how when you're searching for a radio station and when you get to that right frequency, that little FM light turns on and now you can hear everything blazing good, you know what I mean? And I believe that's the same thing with the energies of the world, man, of the energies of every human being. That's how you connect with somebody. You know what I mean? And if you're hearing my video today, man, that means that that little red light clicked on when you were, you know, tuning into that knob of the frequencies of your energy, and it's supposed to connect with mine because mine's connected to the divine matrix. You know what I mean? It all works out, and it's to me, it's that is the way the universe works. I believe that that's the way that we all as a human race are going to be able to get through things, because it's hard to do things on your own. You know what I mean? You can't definitely get out of a drug addiction by yourself. You know what I mean? I know that for a fact. And it wasn't until I tuned in my energies with energies of other people, of other beings, and listening to their messages, listening to their stories, was I able to get myself in line with the frequency that I needed to align myself with that divine matrix and keep on that spiritual path. And I'm grateful for that. You know what I mean? I'm grateful that I'm able to do that, that I have the ability to do that. I'm grateful that I get the chance to do that. I'm grateful that I'm out of that realm of darkness, of just, you know, dark things. You know what I mean? That realm was just it's a very alive thing. You know what I mean? It's alive, and it's there, and it's just a touch away. You know what I mean? So you got to be really you have to be really aware of that kind of those kind of things. You have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to be aware of where you're putting yourself. You know what I mean? You have to be aware of the things that you say, how you talk, how you communicate, who you hang out with, what you let into your conscious and subconscious mind. You know what I mean? Those are all very, very critical things of how you gotta maneuver your life to stay in the spiritual path. You know what I mean? And by no means is it a cakewalk. You know what I mean? Because if it was, everybody would do it. You know what I mean? And everybody's not. And it's hard for people because we live in that world of tangibility, man. We live in that world of see, hear, smell, touch, taste, of attachment. You know what I mean? A lot of us don't want to let go of things. You know what I mean? And myself included. You know what I mean? It was in the beginning, man. I didn't want to let go of the people that I let go of. You know what I mean? Because I cared for them, you know what I mean? I did, you know what I mean? I cared for those people, and I didn't want to let that part of my life go. But I knew if I didn't, then I personally couldn't move along with my spiritual journey. You know what I mean? Because I can only change me. You know what I mean? If any of the other people that I was with and dealing with on a daily basis, I can't change any of them people. You know what I mean? I can only change and manage my own frequency. You know what I mean? And how I do that all depends on my environment. It all depends on my environment. It all depends on why I allow it to, you know, enter my subconscious mind. My mentality has to be keen on what I want. And it has to be intact and connected to that divine energy, because if it's not, then man, I'm going straight back to that dark realm, you know what I mean? And I don't need to be there. And it's an easy thing to do, to go back, you know what I mean? Because it happened to me, you know what I mean? I was, you know, I was sober for a long time, you know what I mean? I was sober for years, man. And to be exact, for about 10 years, you know what I mean? And then just one day, you know, then I used and went back, and I stayed back there. I stayed in that relapse smoke for 5 years, man, and it wasn't good. So, you know, in those meetings, in some of those meetings, man, you know, they say that, you know, you wind up ultimately jails, institutions, or death. And I was in an institution with the treatment center. I was in jail for a good while, and I just have escaped death on many occasions. And you know, a lot of times I should have, you know, been in that category, but I'm grateful that I'm not. And I am. I'm just grateful that I'm in tune with the energies where I am today. You know what I mean? But I'm glad that today I have patience, man. Today I have the patience to move past things, to be patient enough to see things, to be able to see them and understand them and digest them and and put them in use. You know what I mean? And patience is a big part of that. So yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of talk on that today and kind of give you a little, you know, insight on my day and what I'm doing and how I'm feeling and that sort of thing, because I feel that everybody needs to hear something, you know what I mean? And today, you know, maybe somebody needed to hear that, you know what I mean? Everybody has a different time that they need to hear a message, you know what I mean? Hopefully today's message was whoever needed that was able to hear it. So yeah, but anyway, yeah, so I'm just grateful that you guys were able to watch this video today, and I was grateful that I got to share. You know what I mean? To share a message today, and anyway, I guess that's going to be the end of the segment, man. And if you would please, at this time, hit that subscribe button, shoot me a comment, give me a thumbs up. I'd be greatly appreciated. Just know that when you do subscribe to this channel, you'll be helping out another veteran, another homeless person, another person dealing with PTSD, childhood traumatic experiences, drug addiction, depression, anger issues, suicidal thoughts, all those things, my friend, because I have dealt with all those things at one point in time in my life. And guess what, man? I know a way out. And my way out might just be your way out. So I guess until the next time, man, on When the Smoke Clears, I am the Recovery Plug.